These three just got their B.A.R.K Ranger certificate in Hot Springs National Park. During our visit to Hot Springs, Arkansas, Bosley, Olive, and Lou had the opportunity to become U.S. B.A.R.K Rangers. What is a U.S. B.A.R.K Ranger, you ask? Well, you know, I just found out myself whenever we were researching things to do in Hot Springs, Arkansas. The U.S. B.A.R.K Rangers have a Facebook page called U.S. B.A.R.K Rangers of the United States National Parks Facebook group. I joined the group because it looked like a ton of fun. They even have a map that has the different locations of certain national parks, national monuments, and state parks that have the U.S. B.A.R.K Ranger program. There are some principles to becoming a U.S. B.A.R.K Ranger, and I'll read them off. The B.A.R.K Ranger program is actually an acronym. B is bag your poop, A, always wear a leash, R, respect wildlife, and K, know where to go. When we visited the national park, I was super excited to get the dogs a B.A.R.K Ranger certificate, which I had seen online. Little did I know, it's not just walking in and asking for a certificate, they actually have to complete some activities. So while we were at Hot Springs on Bathhouse Row, I entered the visitor center. As a reminder, no dogs are allowed in government buildings, so they were not allowed in the visitor center. They did stay outside and were being taken care of by some of our family while I went inside. I asked the park ranger for a B.A.R.K certificate, or what I needed to do for my dogs to be enrolled in the B.A.R.K program. And he handed me this little pamphlet and told me that we had to complete all of the activities, or as many as we possibly could, of the activity guide. And then once we did that, come back, tell him about what we did, the things that we did, the activities that we went through, and then he would provide the B.A.R.K Ranger certificate. So the activity list at National Springs Park is to embark on a hike, drink the spring water, explore Bathhouse Row, and take a picture. We had 5 dogs with us, our 3 dogs plus 2 dogs with family members. So we did take a hike right behind Bathhouse Row, right behind the visitor center itself is a little trail that you can walk. One just kind of goes behind Bathhouse Row, and then the other side you can kind of hike up to some of the springs and see that. So we did take them on a short walk. We did have Lou with us, who is 14 and a half years old, so she can't make it very far very fast, but she was a trooper and did go on the hike. We did not drink the springs, but a couple of the dogs dipped their toe in the springs and realized how hot it was. I believe the website said it runs around 120 degrees and higher, so it's quite hot for dogs, on top of it being in May and pretty hot outside. Of course, we did explore Bathhouse Row. That is how we got to the visitor center. So we were able to look at the different bathhouses and see all of the people walking around. And then finally, we took a picture of all 5 dogs with us. Once we got back to the visitor center, again, the dogs stayed outside. They're not allowed in the buildings. I went inside, and here is where I thought that the ranger was going to grab 5 certificates, hand them to me, and say thanks. That is not what happened. Not at all what happened. I walked up. Cade was the ranger on duty who talked to me, and he asked if he could help with anything. I told him, I said, yeah, I'm the one who asked about the B.A.R.K Ranger program. We just did our activities. And he said, oh, yes. And then he walked over to the side of the counter and started talking to me. This is where I just thought it was amazing. Cade took this job so seriously. He took us over to the side so we weren't in anyone's way. It was a Sunday, kind of midday, so they were a little busy with people coming in and out asking questions. And I really didn't think this was going to be a process or anything long at all. But that wasn't it. Cade looked at me and he was like, okay, so tell me what you did. And I said, well, we took a hike. And he said, where'd you go? And I told him where we went. And he's like, okay. And then I said, we walked up and down Bathhouse Road because this is how we got here. And then he said, what about drinking from the springs? I said, yeah, the dogs tried it. It's a little bit hot. He said, yeah, it's kind of hot for anyone to drink. And then he was like, what about your picture? Do you have a picture? And so I showed him the picture. And he was like, okay. And he walked away from the desk. So again, had no expectations, didn't know, I didn't even know. I hadn't really read any part of the program or understood what was going to happen. I had only seen pictures of dogs with their B.A.R.K Ranger certificates. So he comes back with 5 certificates and he goes through them with me. And he told me that this was a very serious certification, and that while he was very proud of the dogs, that they also had to have an owner or someone responsible for them to say that they would commit to the B.A.R.K principles, as well as go through the certification process. I'll just grab one of the certificates here. So he went through this with me. This is Bosley's certificate. So he had me write the name of each dog on each certificate. And then they have to have a human companion because they're not allowed to be off leash. So I had to assign a human companion or the whole family or a member of the family. I chose Nick for Bosley. And then he had a stamp pad where the dogs, he would have brought them the stamp pad outside for each dog to put their own paw print. But being 5 dogs outside of a visitor center that is pretty, has a lot of foot traffic, I thought would be a bit distracting. So he said he did have a paw print if we wanted to just have that in place of their own footprint. And I thought that was probably the best idea. So we went ahead and did that. He told me the responsibilities and that this was a very honorable occasion and that the dogs had to adhere to the rules of the certification. So once we agreed to all of that, he went ahead and signed his name. He was Ranger Kane, who, again, I can't thank him enough. This was super amazing. And then I thought he was going to hand me the certificates and go outside. And again, that is not what happened. So he asked me to help him with the certificates because he did have 5, so he couldn't present them all at one time. So he walked outside, each certificate in hand, kind of holding like this to present them. I followed. We walked outside where all the dogs were kind of hanging out, and there were human companions, and he began a ceremony.
Bringing your puppy dogs here, we have Louise. Who's Louise?
Brown.
Hello, Louise. You definitely look like a Louise. A Bosley.
That's him.
And a Novi.
Navi's over there.
Navi. And Olive.
Yep. Olive.
Olive is here.
And Finn. Finn is the most fancy dog. And it has been my pleasure to see that y'all went walking and that you accidentally stepped in super hot water because you're a water dog. So, by the power vested in me by the federal government and the Department of the Interior, I now formally declare all of you very, very good puppy dogs and bequeath unto each of you your notarized B.A.R.K Ranger certificates, courtesy of all of you, because your names are all on the companion sheets.
Kane did such a great job of welcoming our dogs and giving them the opportunity to become U.S. B.A.R.K Rangers. So once again, I want to thank Ranger Kane as well as all of the rangers in Hot Springs National Park. This was our first opportunity to become a B.A.R.K Ranger, and you did not disappoint. We were ecstatic. It was over and beyond what I even imagined, and you set the bar so high for our next attempt or hopefully success of becoming a B.A.R.K Ranger at other national parks and national monuments. So thank you guys so much. You made our day. It was so fun to see all of the bystanders, people stopping, looking at us, trying to figure out what was happening, other people with dogs kind of nudging each other like, what are they doing there? Why do their dogs get certificates? And I hope that it spreads awareness to other people about this program, other parks about this program, and just having people being responsible for their dogs and having their dogs act accordingly according to the B.A.R.K it was really fun. We really enjoyed it. If you want to find out more information about the B.A.R.K Ranger program, again, they do have a Facebook page. The Facebook group page is called U.S. B.A.R.K Rangers of the United States National Parks. And then on that page, you can find some information about the B.A.R.K program. And they also have a link to a Google map that has the different locations that have the B.A.R.K Ranger program. It does include, again, some national parks, national monuments, and state parks. They are trying to get city parks involved as well, but that list is very short. I believe at the time that I looked today, there was only 1 or 2 on there. So it is a growing program. It is spreading awareness of dogs being on trips to parks with their humans, and for humans to be responsible for their dogs, and a code of conduct to follow. People, you know, we love bringing our dogs places. We understand why they're not always welcome, but we do enjoy, and we try and have our dogs behave as much as possible, so they are respected and they are welcome next time we go somewhere. So thank you guys for the U.S. B.A.R.K Rangers program. Thank you for the national parks for participating and welcoming dogs in your park. And we look forward to many, many more U.S. B.A.R.K Ranger ceremonies. Thanks for watching.